Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today, and especially I'd like to welcome everybody back if you were here for yesterday's webinar as well. Today, we are going to talk about the online referrals and tracking all of your activity directly through BNI Connect. Now, traditionally, at many chapters around the world, you can either turn in a piece of paper that shows all that activity that you've had, or you can log into BNI Connect and track that yourself. Now, doing it on a piece of paper is easy. You go to the meeting, you fill out the piece of paper, and you hand it in. However, it doesn't really give you any additional benefits, whereas when you fill it directly into BNI Connect, it makes your vice president's job a lot easier because they don't have to go back and count it all. But B, you can then go back and retrieve that information later, which gives you some tremendous insights into your membership. Now, I know a lot of you are new members, so it will start to materialize a couple of years into your membership where you'll really be able to go back and take a look at kind of like your BNI financials. And it's a really powerful thing. So that's what we're going to talk about today. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started, and as people are still logging into the webinar here. Firstly, this is a live webinar. So if you're here with me today on February 8th, 2017, you have the wonderful privilege of being able to ask questions as we're going through the material today. I love questions, so please type in your questions and I'd be happy to answer them. If you aren't here with us today but listening at a later time in the future, you can still send your questions in if you'd like to. Send them to support@bniconnect.com and we'll be happy to answer those questions. This is part of a 5-part series of webinars. Just a reminder, yesterday we talked about filling out your profile and a brief overview of what BNI Connect's all about. Today we're going to talk about giving and tracking referrals online. Tomorrow we're going to continue the series with the connection piece, connecting with other members using kind of the social media portion of BNI Connect. We're going to take a couple of days off, and then on Monday we're going to talk about the member tools and reports. Basically a deep dive into the system. On Tuesday, we're going to talk about the visitor process. So this is a 5-part series. We are on part 2. And for those of you that are here back for part 2, thank you so much for joining me 2 days in a row. And I look forward to seeing you through the rest of them as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So today's topic again is the online referrals. Now, before I get too far into how to do all that, let me give you a brief tour of the home screen here in BNI Connect, because this is kind of where all the magic happens in BNI Connect. So we have our home screen here, and what it'll tell you is, this is, you can put a little, kind of almost like a Facebook status message up here if you'd like to, and save that. That'll share that on your profile. It gives you some buttons here that you can go in and change your password or update your profile like we went through yesterday, update your privacy settings, things like that. And below that is where we have really all of your day-to-day and week-to-week activity here in BNI Connect. It's important to know that also on the left-hand side, you'll see some like a banner here with some other options. You have the My BNI Business, and that's this home page. You also have the My Network page, which we'll get into a little bit more tomorrow. This is really all the social media components of BNI Connect. And then you have the chapter shortcuts, which are going to be all of the other things you have access to in the system that are hidden behind all these menus up here. But again, we'll take a look at that one on Monday. Today we're going to go through the My BNI Business. Now the top portion of this page, the My BNI Business, this is your stats. So it's your lifetime stats and it's your stats over the last 12 months. This right here is a pretty cool thing. I'm almost jealous of newer members that are just starting out in BNI. When I first started in BNI in 2002, we didn't have a system like this. We turned in our referrals on paper and everything, and maybe once in a while, our VP would print out the stats and hand them out to the chapter. But we had to beg for it. Now you can log into BNI Connect anytime you want to and get those stats. You can see exactly how you're doing. This right here is a rolling 12 months number. So this is taking your stats from basically February 8th of last year through February 8th of this year. That means that these numbers may go up and down over time. After you've been in BNI for a year or 2 years, some years they'll be higher, some years they'll be lower, but it's giving you a rolling 12 months. Whereas the numbers in the lifetime column will give you the grand total of everything that you've done in BNI. These numbers are primarily taken from the PALMS report. So that the PALMS report, for anybody that isn't sure what that is, the PALMS report it stands for in BNI 30 years ago, it started out as the attendance taking report. And PALMS stands for the different attendance statuses of a meeting. You can either be P, present, A, absent, L, late to the meeting, M, you could be on medical leave, or S, you could have a substitute for that meeting. That's where the abbreviation PALMS comes from. So that is now kind of our go-to statistical report. And that's essentially what we're displaying here for you, is your PALMS report or your activity report in BNI. And all of these numbers, the referrals received, thank you for closed business given, referrals given, visitors, one-to-one CEUs, those will all be essentially, they should be accurate regardless of whether you're using the online slips to turn in your activity or whether you're just using paper, because both ways they get entered into the PALMS report. The only number that doesn't conform to that is this number at the top. And this is essentially your return on investment. In other words, revenue received to my business. So one of the things that we do is, let's say that you receive a referral from a member and you close the deal and you got paid for the work that you did. That's great, right? That's what we're all here for. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that we recognize that person that has generated business for your business. And that's what the thank you for closed business is. We turn in a thank you for closed business slip. Now in the PALMS report, they will get recognized for the amount of money that they've produced for the chapter or for members of the chapter. However, if you are submitting those online, we will just private to you track the revenue you've received to your business as well. Down at the bottom is where all of the various activities happen. Before I get to that, there is also another report kind of like hidden here on the home screen, and you should see the My Personal Participation Report. My Personal Participation Report. What that will do is if you're questioning these numbers here, click the My Personal Participation Report. This will give you a week-by-week breakdown of the activity that either you entered into BNI Connect, or if you were using the paper slips, the activity that was entered on your behalf. So you can see whether you were marked present or absent or had a substitute and all of the different types of activity. Just so you know, A, that's your attendance. RGI and RGO, those are referrals given. There are two different types of referrals in BNI, and what we call an inside referral and an outside referral. An inside referral is when two members do business with each other. So in other words, the relationship stayed inside the BNI chapter, right? So I use my roof needs to be replaced and I use the roofer construction person in my chapter. That would be an inside referral because, again, the relationship and the money is staying inside the chapter. An outside referral would be, my mother and my father, their house needs to be shingled. So I refer them to the roofer in my chapter. That is now an outside referral. I have gone and reached into my network of people outside of BNI in order to get a referral. So that would be an outside. There's two sides to that relationship, of course. There's the referral given, so the person that has generated the referral, and RR is referrals received, and that can be an inside or outside referral as well. So there's always those two sides to a referral relationship that we're tracking. V, of course, is visitors that you've sponsored to the chapter. One-to-ones are the one-to-one meetings that you have with other members of your chapter or in your region. TYFCB, thank you for closed business, or money that you've been recognized for generating for other people. And finally, we have CEUs. And the CEUs are the chapter education units. In other words, what we're doing today, you're learning more about BNI, you're investing time in yourself to further education. Lifelong learning is one of our core values here in BNI. You can track those using the CEU slips. By the way, make sure you give yourself 1 credit for today as well. All right, so that's the POMS report. Now let's look at this activity that we can record on a weekly basis. So essentially the next items here on the screen are the 4 different types of activity that you can have. You can submit a thank you for closed business slip. You can submit a referral slip. You could submit a one-to-one slip, or you can submit a CEU slip. So if everybody's at their computer, I'd like you to go and click this Submit CEU slip. It's the easiest one to do. This is when you do various types of learning, and today you are doing a BNI webinar. So you want to make sure that you give yourself a credit. How many webinars did you take? You took 1 webinar today, so give yourself 1 quantity here. It will do the math for you, so if you go, you're really into this, and you go to 3 member success programs next week, it will give you 6 credits for that. Now, that being said, something to keep in mind is that not every type of training that's available or every type of networking event is listed on this form. It is a finite form, and there are tons of variations on training from region to region. The spirit of the CEUs is that it's roughly equated to the number of hours that you have invested in learning. So, for example, the podcasts, the BNI podcasts, are approximately 10 to 12 minutes each. So 5 of them would be about an hour. Today's webinar, we're scheduled for 30 minutes. We usually go about 40, 45 minutes with questions. So we round that up to an hour. So if you attend a training and it's a 2-hour training, just pick the, let's say, member success program and give yourself, 1 credit for that. Okay, so again, give yourself those CEU credits, and when I click submit, it will then queue that activity up for this week's meeting. So for me, my chapter, I am a member. We meet on Thursdays. So this is actually preparing my activity for tomorrow's meeting. And the nice thing is as soon as I submit that slip, I can go and click on Review My CEU Slips. And if I click on Review My CEU Slips, by default it's going to give me 6 months, but I could actually make this date range anything I want to. And I can see the details of the slips that I've submitted over the past 6 months or so. Now this is different from turning in a piece of paper, because once you turn in a piece of paper, that paper basically disappears forever. You're never going to see that piece of paper again. But now we'll keep this for you forever here in BNI Connect. I can go back and see that this week I turned in 2 credits, 1 for 5 podcasts and 1 for a member success program. Right? So that's the basics of turning in a slip. So let's just look at the other slips that you can possibly turn in. You'll notice that I did just change screens here. I am a active member, so this one is my real profile. I need to switch over to our test system here because I don't want to send a referral to somebody in my chapter that isn't real, for example. So let me go in and let's look at the next type of slip. So I'm going to look at the one-to-one slips, because one-to-ones really are the backbones of the relationships here in BNI. And if I could give you one piece of advice, especially if you're a new member, the one-to-ones are the most important thing that you can possibly do in BNI. Yes, it's important to do a good weekly presentation and the 10-minute presentations, and referrals are important, but the one-to-ones are how you get there. So please do at least one one-to-one per week, and if you can do more than that, do 2 or 3 one-to-ones per week. That is how you build the relationships. So when you do have a one-to-one, I actually just had a one-to-one for lunch today with a member of my chapter, got to learn more about his accounting business. So I would want to go and put that into BNI Connect. So Mark Carrison, he is the bookkeeper accountant in our chapter, and I met with him today. So we actually went to a place called Pasquale's, and today this was our first one-to-one, getting to know the basics of our businesses. And what's funny is I found out he was a Boy Scout. What date? We actually just met today, so I would put the date in. Now at the bottom I have a couple of options. I can click Save and New or Submit and New. And what that would do is, let's say that I had to turn in 2 or 3 or 4 one-to-ones. That would allow me to kind of submit this one and then go and submit another one right away. I could also just click the Submit button, and that would submit this one and immediately bring me back to the home screen. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And again, I can go back and review those one-to-one slips. So again, rather than just getting the credit for it and knowing that I did, let's say, 3 one-to-ones last month, now I can go back and see who did I do the one-to-ones with. And that is really, really important here in BNI, because it's not just about how many one-to-ones you do, but who are you doing the one-to-ones with, and making sure that you strategize those one-to-ones for maximum efficiency, especially with the people that are in your contact sphere, the people that you're going to be doing the most business with. You want to meet with them all the time. So this is your reality check. Am I meeting with the right people? Am I meeting with them often enough? So again, by default, it's going to show you the last 6 months of your membership, but I can just click in here. It'll give me another date. I can go back and even change the year. I can go back to 2009, before I was even recording information in BNI Connect, and click go. And this will essentially show me every single person that I have done a one-to-one with since I started recording this data in 2012. Now, a couple of things to notice on this page. So first of all, you'll see that it has all the topics. With one-to-ones, it's going to share this one-to-one with your one-to-one partner. So only one person has to put a one-to-one into the system. So this would appear in both mine and Janet's one-to-one list. You'll also notice that there's a Palms status. So as I said, when this is actually queuing up all this activity for this week's meeting. So this one-to-one that I just put in with Mark Carrison here, that is showing up. You can see it's showing up in draft mode, whereas most of the other ones here show up as completed. That means that we haven't had our meeting yet. So our meeting, again, is on Thursday. So after our meeting tomorrow, at some point, my vice president will go back and basically take attendance, mark down the attendance, who was at the meeting, and if anybody had turned in paper, he would update those statistics as well, and then officially close out that week's meeting. That is then marked as completed. So we can no longer edit it. It is now part of all the official stats as well. Now, if you do make a mistake, you can go in and edit them. So up at the top here, you'll see a couple of buttons. We have edit, delete slips, export without headers, export and print. Now, this is a report, so if you ever want to print it out to share it with somebody. Now, if you're struggling in BNI, or even if you just want to get better at BNI, I recommend that you meet with your director consultant and bring these reports with you. Bring your one-to-one report, bring your referrals report, bring your thank you for closed business report, and they can help you to troubleshoot and really work with your membership. But you can print these out if you prefer. You want to work with them and analyze them and do some graphs and stuff like that. You can always export these out to Excel and be able to open them up in Excel. This makes them nice and fun to sort and do all sorts of things with, and even do some graphs and counts and sums and totals and all sorts of stuff once you get it to Excel. Now, if you make a mistake, I can edit any of these that are still in draft mode. Once they're completed, you can't edit them anymore. But the way to edit them is to click this Edit, Delete Slips button. This is going to show me all of the slips that I've input that are still in draft mode and when I entered them. So this one-to-one with Mark Carrison, let's say that I want to edit this. And really what I wanted to say is found out we were both Boy Scouts. Or I could change the date or the location or even who I had a one-to-one with. I can then resubmit that. And that is now updated. If I go back and re-pull this report, you can see it says, found out we were both Boy Scouts now. So you can edit your slips if you need to, if you make a mistake. Now, after you start having one-to-ones with people, inevitably you are going to be referring them. And that is the name of the game. We're all trying to build our businesses, and we do that by passing each other referrals. So we want to mark those referrals. We have to record those referrals here in BNI Connect. We do that by submitting a referral slip. And of course, I can choose the member from my chapter. And who the referral is. Whether it was a type 1 or type 2, again, that's the inside versus outside referral. The status, I gave John Smith Stevens' card. I can put in the address, 1 Here Street. Telephone number, email address, and any comments. So the comments, again, you can be whatever you want. Maybe, John is looking for some technical support. Right, and then we can rate the referral 1 through 5, 1 being, maybe John will do business with you, to 5 being, oh my God, call him right now because John is very much interested in your services. It's pretty much a done deal. As always, we have save and new, submit and close. I'm just going to hit submit. And as with the other information, it will immediately be in draft mode in my referrals report. So review my referral slips. And here's the referral that I just passed today. And yes, of course, it is in draft mode. And finally, when people refer you business and that business closes, you want to make sure that you give them credit for generating business for your business. So I click on Submit a Referral Slip. Now, you'll notice that besides being able to select somebody from my chapter, you may also see a Search Cross Chapter button. Now, this is available in most areas, though not all areas. What this does is it allows you to give a referral or record a one-to-one or record thank you for closed business to another member in your area. It is limited right now to other people in your area. So for me, that means I can only do this with other members here in Rhode Island. Please keep in mind, we absolutely encourage you to do business with and pass business to members around the world. We are an amazing network of entrepreneurs and business professionals. Right now, though, we just can't record that for credit here in BNI Connect, but we're hoping that's coming at some point in the relatively near future. So I could search cross-chapter, though, to find other people in my area. So there's another guy, Dave Cordero. Now, again, you don't have to use the whole name. You can just put in a couple of characters. For example, I can never remember whether he has his name as Dave or David. But if I put in Dave and his name is David, it's not going to find it, right? So I'm just going to put in the first couple of letters of his name. Same thing with Cordero. Is it C-O-R-D-I or D-E? So again, just put in a couple of letters, and here we have the David Cordero from CityBiz. He's a web designer, does some very special web stuff, very different than the web designer in my chapter, which is why I have a great relationship with him. And he referred me a client that turned into business. So I'm going to go ahead and choose him. And I can put in that, this referral was for $3,000. It was new business, new office management client, Bob Industries. Now, the comments are private to you and only you. So you are the only one that is going to see these comments. Nobody else can see them. So you can be as descriptive as you would like to be when filling this out. The other thing to keep in mind is that thank you for closed business is anonymous. So in this case, Dave Cordero, he is not going to know that I submitted that thank you for closed business. And the reason it's done that way is because a lot of businesses wouldn't be able to disclose this information if it wasn't private. So if I want Dave to know that I submitted this, I do have to let him know personally. So I either have to shoot him an email, or when I see him at the chapter meeting, tell him, hey, yes, I submitted that for you, or I can announce it at the chapter meeting as well. And as always, once I submit that, it will be in my thank you for closed business slips. Now, there's some pretty amazing stuff that happens with this. One of the things is, if I go back in time, once I start keeping track of all these details on a regular basis, the fact that I can go back and look at these details means that I can really look at my membership in a different way. So it's great that I'm making money in BNI, but I'd like to make sure that I'm, who is my best referral source? One of the things that we have to do is, in maintaining these relationships, is make sure that we thank the people that are generating business for us. So this gives us a great way to, if I sort this by, let's say, thank you to, and I look through this list, I can see people that are referring me and referring me business that closes. So not just the referrals, but the fact that these turned into revenue. And I can look through and I can say, hey, you know what? Angela Moon here has referred me, like, and even if it's a repeat business, but right here we're looking at probably about $100,000 worth of business. I want to make sure that I thank her for that, and maybe I want to take her to lunch. Maybe I just want to go over and say, listen, I appreciate the fact that you're helping me to grow my business. And that's how you maintain those relationships over the years. Now, of course, people are going to be passing you referrals as well, and as long as they pass them in BNI Connect, you can go in and there's this received referrals report. And here I can look at the details of all of the referrals that I've received. So if I need to go back and look up a phone number for a specific person, I can go back and look up the referral. I can see who it was from, what the phone number was, the description, whether or not it was new or closed or pending. And all of those details you can keep track of here in BNI Connect. One thing people always ask me is, okay, well, we're doing all this great stuff. Well, what are you supposed to do at the meeting now? What if, do I need to also fill out a slip? Or you don't need to also fill out a slip, but you can print your weekly slips by clicking on Print Your Weekly Slips. What this will do is this will print out slips for all of your weekly activity. So here you can see, if I click the print button, prints out a referral slip with the details on it of approximately the same shape and size as a referral slip, so I can go ahead and use this as an entry for the door prize as well. It also lists my thank you for closed business and one-to-ones so that I can announce that at the meeting. Now, there's no need to turn in a slip for those because it's already been counted in the POMS report. That's why vice presidents love this. They don't have to go back and tally up all the totals. It's automatically passed on to the report. All right, so we are at the bottom of the hour. So what I'd like to do right now is to open this up to any questions. If you have any questions about the referral process here in BNI Connect, I'd love to answer those questions now. While you're thinking up any questions, I do want to say, for anybody that needs to leave right at the bottom of the hour, thank you guys so much for being with me here today. And a good referral for me is to please let other people know about these webinars. If you found this helpful, please invite somebody to tomorrow's webinar. Tomorrow, Thursday, February 9th, we're going to be talking about connecting with other members, how to use the magnifying glass, how to find people around the world, how to engage them in conversation. So, Holly has a question. So Holly says, what about that track your referrals received online? Yeah, absolutely. Let me show you that. I'd skipped over that because we were getting close to the bottom of the hour, but the track your referrals allows you to go in and for any referrals that you've received. Now, again, this is the test system, so I don't receive a lot of referrals here in the test system, but let's see if I have any here. Oops. So here's some referrals that I've received in the test system. So this allows you to go in and for any of these referrals, let's say for Jimi Hendrix here, I received Jimi Hendrix as a referral. I can go in and edit this referral and track this referral. Let's say that I have new information for him. It's an updated phone number. I can update that here. I can also, and this is kind of the important part, I can change the status. So is this now a pending sale or is this now closed? I can also put in when I met with them. So let's say I met with them on December 1st or contacted them on December 1st. I met with them on December 7th and I followed up with them a couple of weeks ago. The thank you for closed business here is just for tracking. You still need to submit a slip if you want this to appear on the POMS report. And spin-off means that this was actually a referral from the referral. Now the nice thing about that is once I've updated that, you can see it's closed here, but if I go back to my home screen, I go back to my referrals received report, I'll see that Jimi Hendrix right here is now marked as closed. And what's cool is that my referral partner, Steven Schwartz in this case, in Steven's referral given report, he'll also see that this was a closed deal. So it's a nice way to communicate with your referral partner to let them know that that was closed. So Holly, does that make sense? Does that help? And again, I apologize for skipping over that. I spent a little bit longer on a couple other things. Mary says, I'm a little confused on the thank you for closed business. Did you say that I need to let the person referring to me know personally? So Mary, when you submit a referral, a thank you for closed business slip, basically if I submit this slip to Danielle, she's not going to know that I submitted it. So if I want Danielle to know that I submitted it, I need to announce that at the meeting, or I need to let Danielle know personally that I submitted the slip. She will get credit for it in the POMS report either way. But again, that by not announcing it or by not notifying her through BNI Connect, we can protect the anonymity of that basically receipt, so to speak. Cool, thank you for asking. All right, what other questions do you guys have? Again, I love questions. The only silly question is the unasked question. All right, hold on. Mary says, is there a minimum of number of CEUs each year? So there's a lot of guidelines out there. There isn't an official policy in BNI that says, if you don't get 25 CEUs, we're going to kick you out of BNI. There's nothing like that that's an official policy. However, there are best practices and there are chapter guidelines. So a chapter could set their own local policy, or a region could set their own local policy for their recommended number of CEUs and referrals and one-to-ones. I do subscribe, so to speak, to the to what we call the power of one. I think this is a really great formula for success in BNI, that if you can strive for an average of one-to-one, one referral, and one CEU per week, you're going to be doing pretty good. So you strive to have one-to-one per week, strive to give somebody a referral every week, and participate in at least one CEU per week. And that is some good activity to keep you moving in BNI. So there's also other parts of that. Also bring one visitor per month and be absent no more than one time every 6 months. So that's the power of one formula, and I personally think that's a great way to do BNI. And if you can do more than that, that's even better. So thank you so much for the question, Mary. All right, do we have any other questions? All right, on that note, I'm going to say thank you guys so much for being here with me today, spending some time learning more about BNI and more about BNI Connect. I invite you all to tomorrow's presentation as well. And again, good referrals to please pass along the links for registration. In the meantime, have an absolutely wonderful rest of your afternoon, and I look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow, and happy connecting.